We are live. Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of RoadFS Detail Memoirs. I'm Jody.
And I'm Rod Pusey, and as always, RoadFS Detail Memoirs is sponsored by RoadFS, the software that drives your business. Today, we have a special featured supplier, and it's also a really great guy. So,
hands down.
Who's that? With Jason Rose. Good morning, Jason.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me on your show.
No, we appreciate you coming. You're not far. I mean, Denver's a 16-hour, 12-hour drive from us, about a 2-hour flight, and you got the snow and we didn't, so I'm happy.
We did get a little bit of snow overnight.
That's good, man. So let's talk about you. We've had the great pleasure of visiting you off and on throughout the years. A couple years ago, we had the opportunity to drop in at the Rupes facility where I think it was actually almost your inaugural opening of that training center. And man, that was phenomenal. And I understand that you guys are continuing to evolve that and grow that. And maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So our academy, which was, the dream child of, several different people, but as a longtime trainer in the detailing industry, it was a dream come true for me to build the training academy the way that we did. And our goal was to have a destination education center that people from all over the world would want to come and get educated on, paint correction processes and paint polishing and things like that. And we've nailed that. I mean, that was, as you can see from our facility, it's very impressive. But what's happened recently is our demand for classes and programs here has gotten so high. So for example, 2020, we have doubled the number of events that we did last year. So on our schedule, we literally 2 times more the number of events, and we book up way ahead of time. So it's, as a trainer, it's really, you're proud of that result, obviously. And the feedback we get from people that come to do classes at our academy is very, very positive. So it feels very good, from a training perspective to deliver the quality of not only the facility experience, but the quality of our content seems to be resonating well with people that come here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the facility itself is phenomenal. I mean, just the layout from the standpoint of training with the, with the classroom setting that's right within, the glass windows, and you can walk right out into the actual facility, and you get the separate wash bay, and I mean, it's actually set up perfectly to do that. It's
class act.
Not to mention the lighting and, and then the company as well. So, you guys are very set up perfectly to do that. And I personally, I've come from a background of a training and education background in the corporate environment years ago. And there's a number of people that have that personality. You are one of them that has that kind of just calm demeanor, that somebody that is intimidated by training or somebody telling them something they don't know how to do, that just calming voice and that demeanor has a tendency to kind of de-escalate any concerns people have. So the facility is great. You're an excellent trainer as well. So.
Wow, thank you. I appreciate hearing that. It's definitely a skill, and there's personality and character thrown into that. But training and education is definitely a skill, as you know, and it's been skills I've honed over many, many years. So, but yeah, I appreciate that feedback. My hope is that when people come to the academy or when I travel to do events, that they learn something that not only helps them do something better, but really is life-changing or business-changing. What I hope for is not just learning something that helps you a little bit, but let's learn something that really is profound. And that's our goal.
So let's go back in time. I mean, here you are, you are one of the key figures in the detailing industry, really having an impact, training lots of people, a real solid voice for everybody in the industry. How did you get started? And let's talk about that journey and maybe some key things that you've seen change over the years.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking for that. It's an awkward question whenever I get this because my least favorite topic to talk about is myself. uh, so it's a little bit awkward for me to do so, but I do have a story, and it seems like when I share it with people, I'm, totally bored with it, but other people seem to be fascinated. But so I started in high school as a teenager and was basically just wiping on family and neighbors' cars, which is a similar start from what I hear many people in the detail business started doing that. But in high school, that evolved to, I guess I did something right, was cleaning cars good enough for people to ask for that. So I didn't actually intend to create a business, but a business developed because I had, teachers in high school that wanted me to do their cars. I had people at church, I had neighbors. So I had developed this reputation that, oh, this guy, knows what he's doing when it comes to cleaning cars. I had no idea what I was doing, but just simply had a passion for it.
Right.
But that developed into a serious business when I got college age.
Mhm.
So I had a decision to make about, as many teenagers have that life decision to make about what you want to do with education, or do I want to just start working now, or what do I want to do? And by then I had a business. It was a good, solid part-time detail business that was, I was making more money than any of my friends and doing it part-time. But I made the decision I wanted to do, have a college degree. And I actually did it in a way that, fast forward to today, kids that are trying to get a college degree, I don't believe it's very possible to do it the way that I did, or it'd be much, much more difficult. So the way I did it is I had no student loans, not significant help from parents or family. So my entire 4-year degree, which took me 6 years, it was 100% paid for by polishing and detailing cars. And I think right now, if somebody attempted to do that, it'd be much more difficult because the cost of an education is just skyrocketed. And but I had no student loans, no debt. So when I graduated, I just jumped right into the field I was educated in. I worked that for 3 months and decided, nah, I'm going back to cars. So I have this fabulous degree that, I do nothing with. But yeah, the car thing, I jumped back into detailing, and I actually had a 12-year mobile detail business in Southern California, which is an area that you can actually do mobile detailing year round. Right. And it was quite successful. And then I joined the McGuire's team in 1996 and sold my business. And the McGuire's people were my customers. So that's how I had that relationship with them. In fact, I was the very first detailer that Barry McGuire hired to do his own cars, because prior to that, he had always done his own work on his cars.
And how can you not be excited around Barry McGuire? That guy, just hearing him talk, I bet he talks about his dinner in a way that makes people excited. I mean, he gets, hey, tonight we're having fried chicken. Awesome. Look at the crispy. I mean, there's certain people have an infectious personality, and he is definitely one of them. Just a super personality. I just love
very charismatic.
And positive nature.
His IDA presentation was awesome. I mean,
wasn't that?
He recorded it, but I mean, you just could feel that, his excitement and love for not only the industry, but the journey that the industry gave him.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
So how is it working for somebody like that's that charismatic and
Oh, it's a blessing. He's absolutely amazing to work with, and you're right. He has that hypnotic kind of. I mean, it just when he smiles, the teeth. You just kind of stare at it like, oh, wow. He is fascinating to listen to. One of the few people actually that. Because I lose patience listening to myself or other people more than 15 minutes, but he's somebody I can listen to for hours. He just has
Yeah.
great stories to tell, and he tells it in a great way. And he's a super guy. I still have a relationship with him. We still talk, and yeah, it was amazing. And I was with McGuire's company for 20 years, and it was a fabulous run, a good chunk of my career. And I started in entry-level sales, so I did the sales side for 10 years, and then moved into product development, training, and that side of the business on the technical side. Came out with some amazing products that were benchmarking type products back then. And I left McGuire's, which is a very, very difficult decision to make, and I moved to Denver for the Rupes job 4 years ago. And I'm very, very happy. It was a great move for me, having the ability to create the training academy. And so what I do now for Rupes is I coordinate our training curriculum and programs globally. So we have 22 trainers around the world, and we have 2 academies, one in Milan, Italy, and the other one in Denver. And so it's a lot of busy work, a lot of activity going on. And then I'm also on our product development team for Rupes. Not so much on the tool development. We have a whole team of engineers doing that.
Right.
But I am in the middle and fully engaged in our development work for compounds, polishes, and pads.
Right. And you guys are, Rupes is one of them that has a very easily understood system, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this color, this combination,
Yeah.
which I think nowadays with everybody in the world has a compound or a coating. It's easier to understand if you have some way in an organized fashion to follow the steps,
Yeah. It helps people with a starting place. So if you're not familiar with the system, it gives you a good starting point, unless you're colorblind, and then it's a challenge.
Yeah, then you just look for the subtle gray hints. So
I think that's a good lesson for detailers, right? When they look at Rupes' growth over the last, as they've come into the States, one of the things that they've done really well is systemize their product offerings.
Yeah.
And if you can take that into your own business and figure out how you can systemize processes,
Absolutely.
it really does make you more efficient, more profitable. It enables you to scale when you probably couldn't if you didn't have those systems in place.
Absolutely. 100% agree. It's very challenging to scale up to a large company with multiple employees if you don't have systems in place. Yeah, totally agree.
One of the things I think that I didn't know, I know that I was not aware of until we were actually at the training facility there is, you guys have systems for like conventional body shop stuff. You have sanding systems and everything that we don't really get to see on the detailing side, because obviously the shows and the interactions we have with you and with Rupes on the detailing side, we're looking at polishing and pads and compounds. But when you go to the training center, you guys have a whole myriad of equipment for the conventional body shop as far as sanding and getting the contaminants out of the way, which is one of the biggest problems with the full restoration of a car, or even a partial where you're just doing paint and body work, is you're getting contaminants all over the car. And so I was actually really impressed on the side of my background, coming from a restoration background. That was always one of the things, is you had a separate bay for sanding, and then you had to go decontaminate the car.
Right.
If you had to bring it back in even for a slight, second sanding, you're totally decontaminating it again. So talk about a little bit, just kind of deviate off the detailing side of some of the methods you guys are using for keeping the contaminants to the lowest possible level.
Yeah. So if you were impressed with that kind of exposure that you got here with our dust extraction system, then what I'm about to tell you will be even more impressive. So the Rupes as a company began in the US market like 7 or 8 years ago. And the claim to fame and our loudest message has always been on the detail side with the polishers and the polishing systems. But what a lot of people are not aware of is that Rupes as a company started in 1947 in Italy, in Europe, and it's been a very strong brand in Europe for decades, but not because of paint polishers. So the paint polishing thing is actually a small segment of the overall business of the company globally. So the company's fully engaged in industrial. We're engaged at the OEM car factory level. We're engaged in the aftermarket paint refinishing and collision repair with a lot of different systems. And you mentioned one of them, which was, our dust extraction dry sanding system, which, by the way, is going to be, it's a global trend that's shifting away from hand sanding, wet sanding, all that, which has been the norm for decades. But all of that, right as we speak, is being trending to another direction, which is dry sanding with full dust extraction as you sand.
Right.
And there's many, many reasons and benefits for this technology. The United States market is a good 10 years behind on this. So Europe is way ahead of us on this stuff. So the crystal ball for American collision repair and body shops and stuff like that, paint refinish, is that you're going to be hit with a whole new systems approach for sanding that's very, very different from what we're doing now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's slide a little bit into a different role that you do. You are heavily involved in the IDA. In fact, you are the global entrepreneur, builder of the entire entity. So let's talk about, what you're doing to try to build the global efforts and the extension of the IDA into the global market.
Yeah, okay. And I have been, I actually don't know exactly how many years I've been involved in IDA, but it goes back 10 years, I bet at least. But yeah, I started out with my involvement in the IDA in the committee level, working on the certification program. And I transitioned after helping write some exams and things like that, moved into the membership side, the membership committee. And that just kind of naturally evolved into this new committee being created, which is called Chapter Development Committee. And this is what you're speaking about, which is this whole initiative of taking the International Detailing Association model and transcending that model to other countries. Because the IDA over the years, from the perspective of other countries or other detailers in other countries. So for example, Asian detailers and European detailers, they look at this IDA thing as something way over there. It's something the Americans are doing. It sounds cool. It sounds like a good idea. It's upping the game on standards and professionalism, creating a network of detailers. But it's always, from their perspective, it's always something over there and out there.
Yeah,
right.
And what the chapter development model does is it takes that IDA networking, that group of detailers helping other detailers, and it supplants it right in the middle of them. And it becomes local detailers helping other detailers using the IDA platform, which, as I travel around the world, what I'm discovering is that detailers are already there wanting this. If you get a group of detailers together, they start talking about everything that the IDA already does. They start talking about wanting that for their country. So this is giving this whole structure, which some very smart, well-minded, passionate pioneers have developed over the last 10 years, this whole IDA structure and the model. And all we're doing in our committee, the Chapter Development Committee, is we take it to other countries. Our first objective is we find those passionate pioneer detailers that want to make a difference, and they want to create this in their own country, in their own language, with their own group of people. And then we just educate them on the structure, and they're off and running. So it's very exciting for me to see that the whole benefit package of the IDA can be offered locally in other countries. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and I think what you see is with anything that you introduce like that, once they take it in and make it their own language, their own meeting place, and their own stuff, that ownership is what projects into success.
Yes.
We see the same thing in software. Once a company takes a system in place, once they own it, then it becomes part of them, and that's the success factor right there. Is they have to own it. It has to be theirs. And the IDA is the same way. I saw the passion with some of the folks that were either recorded or that I've met in person that are outside of the United States. And they actually, I think, have more passion than we do in the United States. I think a lot of times we take it for granted because this is where it started and this is where the majority of the people are. But you go outside of the country and you see some of these people and they're super, super passionate about it.
Oh yeah, they are turned on and they're all over it. And some of these chapters actually develop quite quickly because of that, because it's driven by their passion in the early months. They just totally make something happen. It's fabulous to see.
The thing that's interesting to me is I've watched different, detail groups and treads, and people have asked, should I get involved in the IDA? What does it do for me? And what I found is that those people that get engaged, they get involved, they grow. They have opportunities where they can rub shoulders with people like you or Levi Gates or other people, or even people in their market that enable them to learn not only detailing, but maybe approaches to business or systems that lift everybody's game. And I think that's the real power of the IDA. It's not just being part of a group, it's being active in the group.
Yeah.
And I think it's like any group, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. If you walk into any organization or any group and you're like, okay, what are you going to do for me? You've already lost. The idea is, what am I going to do to get involved in this group? And how can I help interact with the group? And then in turn, you're going to get things out of it.
Now, I totally agree with you, but at this point in the IDA's development globally, I really believe that the IDA is not for everybody that's in this business. It's not for everybody.
Sure.
And I also believe that nobody needs the IDA to be successful. You can be completely successful in detailing and not be a member and not have any interaction with IDA at all. So this idea that some people, get cocky about and say, well, what do I need them for? I can do this on my own. And you totally can. I'm not taking that away. And I'm out there telling people, the IDA is not for everybody, especially the person or the detail company that believes they can pay a membership fee and then they're going to be showered with benefits and then their phone's going to be ringing off the hook. If you're that kind of mindset, then the IDA is not ready for you and you're not the right fit for the IDA. I believe in the future there will be a time where the benefits are going to be so strong that a member can just simply pay the fee and they will get benefits. It will happen, but we're not there yet. We're still in this pioneering entrepreneurial grassroots, growing stages. And what really is a good fit, as you mentioned, for the IDA is those people that jump in and they want engagement. They want to do something. They want to help their own industry. That's the people that really get a lot of benefit out of the IDA right now.
Right. And I think I think anybody that's out there and I've seen a lot of this stuff, the discussions of people asking a legitimate question of, what is the IDA and what does it provide or what can it do? That's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
To me, the comments that are bashing anything, I just don't see a need for that. I mean, I was in a podcast at MTE and they're asking what's one thing that our industry could do. And that's one of those things I think the industry can just, if you don't have anything nice to say about it, just zip it. Because if you're not a member of the IDA and you're bashing it, you have no place bashing it because you're not involved in it. And even if you are involved in it, like you said, it might not be for everybody, but there's no reason to give it a negative connotation when it doesn't have that. It's literally just set up to help people. It's not set up as anything negative at all. And I wonder about this. I don't get engaged in those conversations because I know I'm not going to change anybody's mind. I just look at it, shake my head and go, man, you're misinformed. It's just move on.
Well, and actually along those lines, one of the strongest benefits of IDA is the least talked about and the most misunderstood. So a lot of people outside looking in and a lot of these people throw in negativity towards the IDA direction. They think it's a certification thing.
Right,
They think that you're paying somebody to give you a certificate and tell you that you're a worthy detailer. That's the furthest from the truth. That is not what it's all about. But one of the strongest benefits that only a few people talk about, it's the camaraderie and the networking and the rubbing shoulders with industry leaders. That is such, I mean, you can't even put a price tag on that. It is just amazing.
Yeah.
The network of people.
The IDA meet and greets you can go to, and you can talk to 50 people in your area and find out techniques and how they're doing their business. Are they using the Chamber of Commerce? It's the business connections is what I always tell people. And you can watch we had a Thursday afternoon meet and greet for the IDA in Ventura, California, in the Oxnard area. And 54 people showed up, and it went well into the night. And it wasn't conversations about the IDA. It was conversations with other IDA members about how they did business and what they did, and
cars they're working on,
events,
challenges and solutions, and see, that's what it's all about right there. That's what it's about. The closest word I can think of is it's like a support group.
That's good.
It is perfect example.
So I know we're running up on our time here. So before we let you go, what are one or two things that you would recommend detailers do to improve their game?
Well, and this is a great question because contemporary trending in the detailing industry is that there's a lot of new players getting into the business. There's in my training academy, we have people coming from all over the world, and a lot of them are first year in the business or second or third year in the business. And then you can tell from these Facebook groups, there's just a lot of, brand new people jumping into this business. And I have actually a history of starting a detail business and doing all the wrong things. I mentioned I had a 12-year detail business, but the first 4 years was a complete failure by many different ways you want to look at it. It was literally hand to mouth. I was detailing a car to get my next meal kind of thing. And even then, because it was part-time and I was in school, I still had more money than my friends. But from a business success standpoint, I had no idea what I was doing. But I don't want that for people that are coming in new to this detailing industry. I don't want anyone to have the 4-year learning curve that I had. And what's fantastic about now with the internet and social media and digital networking and things like that is it helps a lot to shave off some of those years of learning curve. So I would suggest for new people getting into the business, a lot of people focus at this time in the development of the business, the early stages, a lot of them focus on their detailing skills. And this is an awkward thing for me to say as a trainer of detailing procedures, but I would say, yes, of course you got to work on that stuff. That's a given. But jump in full, both feet into the water on developing your business skills. So if you don't have those, all the expertise and high skill level of detailing is not going to make your business successful. Because I know very, very, very good detailers. They can do kick-ass work on cars who are failing at their business every day. So we can't not focus on the development of our business skills, our selling skills, our communication skills, because those are the things that are going to make your business successful. And yes, of course, you got to know how to detail a car. That's part of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really valuable because I think too many times people ignore the business side of things, and they're like, well, I'm really good at X, Y, Z, and that's in any business. But I'm a really good detailer, or I'm really good at detailing motorcycles, but I'm failing when it comes to working on
reading the P&L.
Yeah, reading the P&L, or actually knowing how to pay my bills, or my phone got shut off again because I didn't pay the bill. And that's one of those things where it's like there's people out there, again, in the organizations, in the industry that you can reach out to. There's a lot of groups out there about business that can help you out. So
the other one point I'll make quickly here is the other advice I have for detailers is I wish I could get on a soapbox and have everybody hear this, but your viewing is going to reach a bunch of people, but I wish it would reach all of them. Because what I see is, and I get a lot of people in my classes around the world and we joke about this label we call YouTube certified, where people learn detailing procedures by watching YouTube videos. And YouTube is powerful and it's fantastic and it's a great resource. But I would really seriously encourage people to not rely 100% on that as your source of learning.
Right.
I would say really balance that. I'm not saying don't go to YouTube and watch videos. I'm saying balance it with some solid training at a real accredited professional training facility by a real training professional. And the reason for that is because their YouTube is an access for a lot of information and a lot of education. But the fact is that it's not all right. It's not all good.
Right.
You can actually quickly get false information.
Yeah.
And then you have to find out for yourself that was not good. And then you have to relearn. So I think my other advice is just really, really balance the whole YouTube educational part of it with some solid training and education from real professionals. That's my thought.
Get hands-on training. There's no substitute for hands-on.
Yeah.
So how do people get connected with Rupes? We want to make sure as part of the RoadFS Detail Memoirs that people know how to either get trained at the Rupes facility. How do they get connected with you, the IDA?
Yeah, so globally speaking, because you may have listeners and viewers from other countries as well, but so our academy in Europe, based in Milan, Italy, that is rupes.com. So all the schedules and all the programs, rupes.com. And for the USA side, North America, it's rupesusa.com. So with rupesusa.com, you will get the full schedule, the full description of our training classes. And I would encourage people to pop in there on a regular basis because we don't flood the calendar with all the events for the full year. We put in some throughout the year, but then every month we're adding some more future dates. And if something's of interest, you need to keep checking the website because they book up very, very fast. So if you want that class, you got to jump on it. Otherwise, you're waiting for 2 months for the next one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. We know you're really, really busy. I always drop in on your training sessions at Mobile Tech Expo or wherever you're at. I always love them. I learned something. And I just want to thank you for joining us. For those of you that are watching, if you'd like some RoadFS Detail Memoir stickers, just comment below and we will send your whole crew a whole bunch of them. And we're really looking forward to being at the Southern Detailers Conference. And anything you need to share?
We're also going to be at a couple of local events in California in the next coming months.
Yes.
We're helping Oscar Hernandez with going down there and doing some
Detailers
judging
for Autism.
Detailers for autism, a really awesome thing that we want to be involved in. So, look that up if you want to, but just check everybody's local listings for events coming up. There's dozens of them. So.
Yeah. So
thanks again,
Jason. Yep. And those that are tuning in, we will check you guys next week, same time, same bat channel right here, just with the different guests. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
See ya.